Hello, hello. Thank you so much for tuning into this ASMR true crime soft spoken video. I am so sorry for my absence again. I really want to do a weekly schedule, but y'all know life gets to you and sometimes just get busy. And I really like to gather as much information about these cases as possible. So sometimes it's just time consuming too to write up the case. But I have a suggested case. Today we're going to be talking about the unsolved murder of Lindsay Buziak. Lindsay was born in Victoria, British Columbia on November 2nd, 1983 to Jeff and Evelyn Buziak. She has one sister named Sarah. Growing up, they took camping trips and had really good family memories. In the mid-1990s, her parents did get a divorce. So after this split, her mother was awarded primary custody of the daughters, and in early 2000s, Jeff moved to Calgary, Alberta, where he worked as a commercial real estate agent. Lindsay was described as being so friendly and loved by everyone. She had this really full, fun life with a lot of friends. She was very ambitious and lively. She was described as the organizer and the friend that everyone loved in her friend group. In an interview, her friends said they joked and used a lot of the references from Sex and the City, and they said that she was the Carrie of the group. When Lindsay was 18, she started dating Matt McDuff. They went on to date from 2001 to 2016, and they would travel very often together. After this relationship, she begins to pursue a career in real estate just like her father. She was living in Victoria at the time, and the island of Victoria is small, so is the world of real estate. And Lindsay starts working at Remax. As her career progresses, and she's ended this relationship, she's focused, she begins a relationship with someone named Jason Zalio. He's a mortgage broker with a real estate license. He's an ex-hockey player. I don't know why I have this. He's 6'3" and 240 pounds, in case you were interested in his weight. He's also the son of the manager Lindsay was working for at Remax. They end up moving in with each other, and in 2008, she's 24, she's on the cusp of her career, and she's been in this relationship with Jason for about a year. In late January of 2008, she's on her path to become a successful realtor, and she gets this phone call from a new client from Vancouver who said that she and her husband were looking urgently for a home to buy, and they wanted move-in ready near the city. So Lindsay begins writing down all of the needs and details from this client, The client states they want 3 bed, 3 bath, a separate area for a housekeeper, and they need to buy the home within 2 days. And the price range was within $1 million. So after this call, Lindsay tells her father and some friends that there's something odd about this call. They seem to have an accent, but it almost sounds like someone was faking an accent. It was described as kind of Spanish, but not really. She also feels weird about how the couple had directly contacted her for such a massive deal, as she had such a low profile. She was confused by how the woman had gotten her number, as it was her personal cell phone number. Her boyfriend Jason encourages her to take these clients due to the high commission possibility. Due to her concerns about this odd phone call, they planned to have him sit outside the home while it was being toured to ensure safety. The clients were scheduled to see a house on Saturday, February 2nd, 2008 at 5:30 p.m. Lindsay scheduled to meet them to see a 5-bed, 4-bath home in an upscale Victoria suburb in a neighborhood called Sandwich. On the day of February 2nd, Lindsay and Jason went to a restaurant and shared a late lunch. They left at 4:24 p.m., each going in their separate vehicles. Lindsay had gone home briefly to change clothes before the viewing. Lindsay went to the address, which was located at 1702 de Southsole Place. It was on the outer end of a cul-de-sac. The property's back garden fence ran along Torquay Drive, which was the main road. Meanwhile, Jason went to a body shop to pick up a colleague. She was aware that her boyfriend was going to be a little bit late, as the couple had exchanged multiple text messages. He let her know that he would be there soon. She had told him that she'd see him soon, and she had to go because, quote, the Mexicans are here, which apparently was her name for them. According to police, the lockbox had computer access, so they knew that Lindsay had entered the property at exactly 5:29 p.m., where she proceeded to show the clients the main floor of the property. So CCTV cameras show that Jason and his friend didn't leave the body shop until about 5:30 p.m. Jason is on his way at 5:30 p.m. and he texts a couple minutes away, which was never opened by Lindsay. At 5:41 p.m., Lindsay had pocket dialed a friend that she hadn't spoken to in a long time, and the message was extremely muffled. Jason and his colleague had arrived at the property at 5:45 p.m. As he drove up, Jason reports seeing 2 figures at the front door. He decided to move his vehicle near Torquay Drive, which was located on the back inside of the home, as he didn't want to be a nosy, interfering boyfriend. After sitting there for 10 minutes, he decided to text her, and Lindsay did not open that message as well. He decided to go to the front door. He looks through the windows on the side of the door and sees Lindsay's shoes laying in the floor in the foyer, which was not uncommon for a realtor showing a home. He tries the door and sees that it's locked. This alarms him, so at 6:05 p.m., Jason calls 911 and reports what's going on. While speaking to the 911 operator, Jason's colleague had gotten out of the vehicle, and Jason boosts his friend over the fence to gain access to the back of the home. His colleague investigates and discovers that the back patio door was open. He called out to Jason, who told the phone operator that they were going to enter the house, and at that point, Jason hung up the phone. Jason's colleague enters the property, walking through the main level of the house and unlocking the front door for Jason. They then go upstairs and find Lindsay lying in the master bedroom. She is in a pool of blood, lying on her back. Jason calls 911 again at 6:11 p.m. and paramedics are dispatched to the property. Jason attempts to give her CPR, but he could tell that she had passed. She was pronounced dead when paramedics arrived. She had been stabbed numerous times, most to the head and chest. She had no defense wounds, and it is believed that she had been stabbed in the back and had no idea that it had occurred. Based on examination, it appeared that all the wounds were inflicted by one person. She had not been sexually assaulted, and no knife was left around the scene of the crime. Canines were used to search for any scent, which came up with no answers. At first, police suspect maybe a robbery gone wrong. However, her purse, money, and personal belongings had not been stolen. There were almost no fingerprints, DNA, or evidence at the scene. I think there was a little bit they were able to collect. The rooms were almost all empty, and the house had been cleaned just before the showing. So police then go around to the neighbors to find out if anyone saw anything. One neighbor said they had seen Lindsay greeting a man and woman around 5:30 p.m. They shook hands, and it appeared that they had not met previous to this interaction. The neighbor was able to help create a composite sketch of the woman meeting her. She was described as a white woman, around 35 to 50 years old, with shorter blonde hair. She was also wearing a colorful dress of black, white, pink or red, with a distinctive pattern. The man was described as white, well-dressed, and about 5'12", just kidding, 6 foot, and had dark, possibly brown hair. On Lindsay's phone, they were able to see the numbers stored. Police traced the number to a cell phone that was purchased 3 to 6 weeks before the murder at a convenience store. No surveillance footage was able to be pulled, and no info could be determined from the purchase, except that it was registered to the name Paulo Rodriguez, and the address was that of a business, so this appeared to be a fake name and address. The killers had activated the phone through the internet 48 hours before the murder, which made it hard to trace any additional information. And after the murder, the cell phone was not used again. So overall, police believe she was murdered in a 3-minute time span between 5:38 and 5:41 p.m. She had been showing the master bedroom when she had been struck behind. They theorize that the cell phone Lindsay made at 5:41 p.m. to an old friend was while she was being attacked and was made accidentally. The police believe that the killer had been leaving through the front door when Jason had parked out front. So instead, they went out the back door and left the patio door open. They then hopped the fence and headed to their vehicles, which was likely parked on Torquay Drive, which was accessible due to it being the main road. Police had this theory in mind because the witness statements saw the couple walking up the cul-de-sac instead of driving, and every vehicle in the cul-de-sac was accounted for when police had arrived. So they began to look into people close to her, including her boyfriend Jason and her ex-boyfriend Matt. Jason had actually been detained at the scene and taken into custody where his DNA was taken. He was eventually released after they were able to validate his story through the auto shop's surveillance footage. He also took a polygraph exam and passed, and the footprints and fingerprints aligned with the story that he and his colleague had stated about getting into the home. It is discovered that Lindsay was possibly considering ending the relationship, which she had discussed with her father and friends. But it's also stated that they had gone on this ski trip together, which made Lindsay start reconsidering this relationship with Jason and think about making it work. Police later states that he has been cleared as a suspect. So Shirley, who is Jason's mother and the manager of the company Lindsay worked for, indicates that the day before her murder, she and Lindsay were on a walk, where Lindsay opens up about being afraid of her ex-boyfriend Matt. She doesn't get into any detail why, and it's also important to remember Shirley is the only person who says that she was ever afraid of Matt, and that she's also Jason's mom, so But they do see that the relationship with Matt was rocky at times. Side note, in an interview for Dateline, Matt's getting interviewed and the guy is like, "Oh, so was it like tumultuous?" And he's like, "I don't know what that word means." It's like, come on, dude. But sources say Lindsay called police about 3 times while in a relationship with Matt, but no criminal charges were ever filed. Matt indicates there was some yelling, and Lindsay would hit him sometimes, but he would never hit or abuse her. Many of Lindsay's friends say that she was actually thinking of leaving Jason and wanting to get back with Matt. She opened up with her dad at one point that she was confused and missing Matt. They joked that she would refer to Matt as her Mr. Big from Sex and the City, and there was just always this hold on him. Matt was about an hour away with his girlfriend's family at the time of the murder, and there was no indication that he was involved. So police began looking further into Lindsay's other connections. Both investigators and family and friends indicate she had no history of crime and would never be involved in any kind of crime. Lindsay was involved in the party scene, which may have connected her to people who were involved in crime-related activities. During her last visit with her father in Calgary, she had reached out to an old friend that she had grown up with. This man was then charged a month later after reaching out for the biggest cocaine bust in all of Calgary. It was 67 kilos worth of cocaine that was worth about $6 million. So this is not little stuff, it's the big leagues. Speculation states that Lindsay may have been a witness to a crime or an informant, which police deny, and no further connections of this drug bust was ever discovered. Police report that no motives or breakthroughs have been established in her case. Lindsay's father becomes consumed in the loss of his daughters and the fact that there are no answers to who did this. He committed every day to following leads and advocating about this case. He even knocks on doors of known criminals seeking any answers. In 2020, new details were made public in the case that were previously sealed documents. Some of the key information included that police found an unusual pattern of her online activity prior to her death. Missing chat messages were discovered, and the time of their deletion could not be determined. Lindsay had a Facebook account which was relatively new at the time of her death. Upon examining Lindsay's Facebook friend list, the police noticed names of individuals who had a history of violence and drug trafficking. Their names were heavily censored in the report, but initially the police believed that Lindsay's association with these individuals, quote, may have played a role in her murder. The police noticed that from January 24th to February 3rd, 2008, there are no messages from any of Lindsay's 700 friends, and a fact they deemed very odd, but its significance to this case is unclear. Police also found that a second prepaid phone was used to check the voicemail of the first phone, suggesting the involvement of two individuals in this conspiracy. The identity of the owner of both phones was eventually discovered, which I believe was the name Paulo Rodriguez. In 2021, the police assembled a new task force with assistance from the RCMP and FBI to investigate the case, which they said they would make use of new DNA technology. Police say that while members of the department have rotated in and out of the investigation team, investigators are currently assigned to the case. Members of the department are often transferred because of promotions and other organizational needs. This is a normal course of operation at the department, said a police spokesperson. Every year since his daughter's murder, her father has held an annual walk to keep Lindsay's case in the public eye. He hosts the annual walk on February 2nd, the day that she was murdered. Jeff says there's two main reasons why he holds the annual walk. Quote, one is to heal for the family, the community, and friends. And of course, to keep the case in the public eye. It doesn't get any easier each year. It's been 15 years since her murder, and there are still no answers. So we'll get into the many theories of this case. The first and initial theory was her boyfriend Jason. Jason had been with Lindsay for about a year and they lived together. There were reports that their relationship was not always smooth. Lindsay was this independent woman and Jason could be possessive and controlling. That did not always fit with Lindsay's ambitious nature. He was also the one to discover the body and was around the time of the murder. Her friends and family indicate that he did not show much emotion after her murder. He is interviewed and says that people show emotions differently and that he really loved her. I kind of agree with that. I think being numb is a reaction to a loss as well, but it's also like with the time frame of it being minutes. He was in the car with his colleague who was a witness to him, an alibi. It's really hard to believe that he committed this murder himself. So some have also thought about the ex-boyfriend as a possibility. You know, the fact that there may have been abuse in the past, that she maybe was scared of him. But there was no contact ever found between them in the recent months leading up to their death. It had been 2 years since they dated, and both were in committed relationships at the time. So apparently there is this possibility that when Lindsay was living with him, their phones were tapped due to Matt's association with a guy who had been linked to organized crime involving shipping cocaine. So the next theory is that two unknown male and female had lured her into the home and planned the murder. There's this suspicion that the dress worn by the woman was part of the plan. Wearing such a unique, odd dress would distract away from any other identifiable features. And if this is the case, it seems to have worked. There's a lot of detail in this case. There's a picture of it. It is ugle. But there is only really details about her hair and estimated age. It's not very detailed. So if this was the plan, it may have worked to distract from any other features about this woman except for her ugle dress. It is odd that a woman and a man would commit these crimes together due to it just not being that common. So there's this big possibility that both these individuals have some kind of violent criminal background. A lot of people think this crime was organized and maybe paid off by someone. She seemed to not know who these individuals were. But there's a lot of speculation around the nature of the crime. It was a lot of stab wounds. Some say that this may have indicated panic and the opportunity when she turned her back. So it's really the speculation of whether it's a crime of passion, panic, or the extreme nature of this crime was to send a message. So, you could be looking at maybe at least 3 people if the 2 in the home were paid off and 1 person had paid them. Or if it was the 2 people who had organized this crime and executed it themselves. The main theories is that it was either highly personal or that she had potentially seen something she wasn't supposed to. So it's maybe possible she had witnessed a drug-related crime. Some took, her past connections with Matt and with the guy she contacted and thought maybe she had seen something or heard something and was possibly an informant or a witness. But police do not state that any of these are true. She wasn't known to do any recreational drugs, but it's indicated that she had those connections who did have criminal histories. So, maybe she was out and she overheard something at the wrong time. I saw in one report that Jason told the police during an interview that he might have some information about what led to her murder, but that he wasn't involved. He said that Lindsay visited him on December 14th, 2007, and told him that she, quote, saw something bad. He believed that she was referring to an event in Victoria. But many speculate why Lindsay would be a hit if she was not an informant, she didn't sell drugs, and she didn't really have any involvement in any kind of drug-related activities or talk to the police at any time. So why they would just randomly target her. Another random theory that I saw a couple times, this one kind of gave me the creeps if it's true, and that is that Jason's mother or family had involvement. Apparently in 2008, a close friend of Lindsay's, Nikki, claimed that she was awakened by a phone call in the middle of the night from an unknown caller. She was half asleep and she didn't register much of what the female caller was saying, but she noticed the caller had a strange accent that she couldn't place. She became scared when she remembered that Lindsay had reported the unidentified client had an odd accent. So when she eventually becomes fully awake, she tries to call this number back and no one picks up. She calls again and again, about 20 or 30 times, until someone answers. The person on the other end of the line was Shirley, Jason's mother. Nikki asked Shirley why she had called her and how she had gotten her number. as the two did not know each other. Shirley replies that she did not mean to call her, but she was trying to call another Nikki, which was her secretary, and that she didn't know why Nikki's number was in her contact list, but presumed that her son maybe had added it by mistake or had just added it. So Shirley denies that this event ever even occurred, and it's not publicly revealed whether Nikki's claim was followed up by police. There's one thing I saw that said that the development that Lindsay showed the house where it was located, the family of Jason and Shirley, they knew the developer, but there's like no connections to why this would be significant. I think it was just a small town, so they happened to know the developer. It actually, I believe eventually Shirley goes on to sue Lindsay's father for an accusation that he and another writer were indicating on the website that Lindsay's father had created. So, she just says, like, it's, always the classic, the husband, the boyfriend did it, and that they're kind of taking on some of these theories. But if that phone call's true, that is so sketch. I don't know if it is. I didn't see it everywhere, but it gave me the heebie-jeebies if it is, because it's like, how can you explain that? That's not, that, if that's true, I feel super suspicious about them. Anyway, but again, there's no evidence that leads Shirley or the family to the crime. And then, just as a side note, Lindsay's father has been very open about his disapproval in the police efforts to solve the crime. I watched a Dr. Phil episode where he was on it. I don't like Dr. Phil. Lindsay's father indicates the police are hiding information about this case, possibly, and that they're not doing what they need to do to bring this case to justice. He also kind of suspects that they may be hiding something to protect someone, and they may know more than they're saying. So that is the information on this case. I feel like I forget sometimes to add my own opinions in these cases, but this one is so hard to know what is the red herring, what is, what could be the motive. It's such a brutal crime, and it was so organized that I think the question kind of comes down to, was it someone that she knew or someone that she didn't know? And a lot of people suspect, since it was so organized, it was someone that she knew. But it's still extremely sad that this young woman lost her life in such a horrible way. But thank you so much for watching. I promise y'all I'm going to try to be consistent. Maybe do like a shorter video next time so I can get it out a little bit better. But thank you guys for your patience. I hope that you're having a good day or night wherever you are. I hope you have a good day tomorrow, and I will see you in my next video.